Hello there. Okay, you guys know the drill by now. I just watched Obi-Wan Kenobi, episode, what was it? 5? Also, my hair is looking almost just like Obi-Wan's hair in the show, which I did not do on purpose. So when this episode started out, I was very disappointed that the entire thing was not Wade's funeral. I think it was very disrespectful to that character. Wade is literally the most important character in the Star Wars universe. In the previous episode, he saved Obi-Wan and Leia's lives by staying back and shooting at Reva and eventually sort of sacrificing himself, even though it wasn't on purpose. If Wade hadn't done that, Obi-Wan and Leia would have been captured at Fortress Inquisitorius, and the whole original trilogy would have never happened. Obi-Wan would have never been there for Luke. Leia would have never been able to put the plans into R2-D2, and the whole rebellion would have failed if it wasn't for Wade's sacrifice. So the fact that he didn't get a funeral in the episode or even a mention this time, I don't know, guys. I don't think I can keep following this show if it's going to disrespect my favorite Star Wars characters this way. Hashtag justice for Wade. Okay, so obviously spoilers for episode 5. Okay, so we start out with the first part of a flashback scene between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Prior to the events of Attack of the Clones, Obi-Wan is doing a training duel with Anakin, and I thought it was really great how they used this scene to jump back to it throughout the episode to show the parallels of how Obi-Wan and Anakin's relationship used to be versus how it is now, and their differences as people, and how in this training fight Anakin was more focused on winning the fight than Obi-Wan thought he should have been and stuff. Also, it sort of hits harder after just reading Brotherhood, which, by the way, you should watch my review of Brotherhood. Card on screen now. It was a fantastic book about Anakin and Obi-Wan. So if you like those characters, and if you like Star Wars, consider reading it. So yeah, the use of the scene and what it meant for the characters, I think was really great. If I'm gonna nitpick, I mean, Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen do not look like their younger selves. I mean, they don't look too far off. Something about Ewan's hairstyle, I mean, it doesn't look like the Attack of the Clones hairstyle that much, but that's okay considering that this scene, we don't know exactly how long before Attack of the Clones it takes place. I'm guessing no more than a year prior to the movie. But yeah, Hayden especially, like, you can see the wrinkles around his eyes, and considering his character is supposed to be 19 years old in this scene, it stuck out to me. I can overlook it because I really like how they did this scene, but yeah, like I said, if I'm gonna nitpick it, yeah, the characters, or the actors are a lot older than the characters are supposed to be in that scene now, and it did look off. And seeing that flashback scene, it did make me want more of that. I wonder if we'll get anything else in the next episode.
I want more. And I know I shouldn't.
But at the same time, like, even though I want more because I've seen that they can do it, at the same time, like, I don't need more. Like, only if it serves the story in some way. Like, how they used it to serve the story here, I thought it was brilliant how they did that. Also, just that Jedi Temple balcony is really nice looking. I know that's like a random thing to comment on, but since I'm still currently looking at the scene. Anyways, where I was trying to go with that was, I don't know what else exactly they could add if they did more flashbacks, since, I mean, we already have the entire Clone Wars show, we have the book Brotherhood, we have a lot of background with these characters already that is great at filling in that time, so we don't need more, but if they're able to use it well, it would be really nice to see some more in the next episode. We'll see. But yeah, I'm sure that a lot of fans are freaking out over that and very happy that we did get a flashback. Moving on, I love seeing Vader on the bridge of a Star Destroyer. It just feels so original trilogy, and like that's just one of Vader's positions of power, is commanding a Star Destroyer. So he makes Reva the Grand Inquisitor, which ends up just being him messing with her. He's manipulating her, she's kind of trying to manipulate him. I really like the dark side power dynamic games that they play with each other in this, and how everything with Reva has paid off in this episode. Because, of course, Vader knows the Grand Inquisitor is still alive, which we see at the end of the episode, confirmation that, yeah, obviously he wasn't dead because he's in Rebels. They don't explain how he survived. Apparently, Powans have 2 stomachs or something, but whatever. It is a little bit silly that we see him get stabbed through the gut and then he just walks on screen. Here he is. Did this story need to take the time to explain how he survived that? No. But also, I'm trying to think about this from the perspective of someone who hasn't seen Rebels and doesn't know that the Grand Inquisitor has to survive past this show. For someone watching this without seeing the animated shows, would it be too much of a leap for them to see the Grand Inquisitor just back on screen without any explanation of how he survived? I think it might be, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's weird, because, the whole time I've known that he's alive just because I've seen Rebels, and that takes place after this, so it kind of doesn't bother me because of that, but if I had seen this in chronological order without seeing Rebels first, would I think it's cheap that the Grand Inquisitor had a fake-out death like that? I probably would. Anyways, yeah, I really love what they did with Vader in this episode. Made him absolutely menacing and just powerful and arrogant in that he knows he's powerful and that he can just toy with all these people who are his underlings. Anyway, so Obi-Wan and his crew from the previous episode make it back to Jabim. Unfortunately, I don't think Wade got a single name drop when he got at least 6 or something name drops in the previous episode. Come on, they're really falling off their Wade game here. Also, I love the shot of Vader just staring at the swirl of hyperspace as he gets closer to Obi-Wan. Not only what it means for him as a character, having that laser focus, that literal tunnel vision. So good. But also, it brings back in Light of the Jedi, the book, which I'm sure they weren't trying to make this connection, but it still works. The captain of a ship in that book says that staring into the swirl of hyperspace is something that she does a lot, and that is sort of hypnotic in a way, which staring into that swirl. Anyways, I just thought in universe, it made just the feel of the world kind of feel the same, even though it wasn't a direct connection, and I'm sure it wasn't on purpose either. One thing that I will say is, Roken, I don't like his performance that much of O'Shea Jackson Jr., and I'm not the type of fan who's gonna bully an actor over not liking their performance. That's stupid. But, just in providing my thoughts and criticism on the show, I think the way that he plays that character is very flat. I don't get that much emotion out of him, even when he is supposed to be expressing emotion about his dead wife and stuff. I don't know, sometimes it feels like he's just saying the lines, and he's not, or maybe he's trying too hard to put the emotion behind them and it just doesn't come across. I don't know, something about it, and I'm not an expert on acting in any way, but something about it just doesn't really feel genuine to what it's supposed to be. By the way, guys, I'll say this because I haven't said it yet in the video, and I realize I am discussing some negative things, some of which was a joke at the start of the video. I liked this episode a lot overall. I think it's quite good. I'm just noticing things here and there, I'm definitely gonna have to pause and look at the wall with all the Arabesh names or whatever on it to see what Easter eggs are there, or just wait for other fans to do it. Also, with those lightsaber hilts that Obi-Wan sees, I wonder if any of those are known Jedi. Just wondering about that stuff. Doesn't matter that much. We get evil Lola. She closes the big door that they need to use for their ship to escape the hangar. And then Leia ends up having to go into the space that adults can't get into because they're too big to fix something. And I was just thinking in that, would Leia really know how to fix things being a 10-year-old princess? Maybe, but it's one of those things that I can brush aside, especially since Lola was there. I guess Lola didn't really fix it though. I don't know. There's certain things in Star Wars that I'm very forgiving of in terms of how the technology works. That's something that I think, in order to appreciate Star Wars and not let nitpicking ruin it for you, you have to just accept what it is. Especially since Star Wars is really more fantasy than it is sci-fi. Oh, by the way, one more thing. I'm gonna come back to this because the episode comes back to it, and I'm just kind of clicking through the episode to bring back memories of everything in it. In the flashback lightsaber duel scene. I thought that Hayden's performance was very good as Anakin. I'm not someone who thinks he was terrible as Anakin by any means, but there's definitely parts of Attack of the Clones where he just doesn't feel how I would want Anakin to be, and I'm not blaming that on Hayden necessarily. Writing and directing plays a major role in how that turned out. And by the way, I think that Hayden is really great in Revenge of the Sith, especially in the first half of the movie when he's Anakin and not Vader. But yeah, like even just being like a Clone Wars fan and being someone who prefers Matt Lanter's version of Anakin, Hayden nailed it as just being Anakin in this scene, even though we were short and didn't really give us that much, but still. So something that I like is just how dire this situation seems for the Path people. I very much thought that this show could go the direction of Vader and the Empire wiping out the Path and killing everyone, because it would make sense for, you know, the Empire to win at this point in the timeline. And in a way, I'm a little bit disappointed that they didn't win more. We did get a few character deaths, which were actually a bit emotional. I've grown to like Tala quite a bit over the past few episodes, especially with how in this episode she told Obi-Wan something about we can't forget our memories, but we can, what did she say? We can like get the best out of them through our actions. I'm saying that really poorly, but it was something like along those lines, but said much better, that I thought was really nice. And I can definitely see how her character is, you know, helping Obi-Wan's development to pull him out of his dark, depressed place and make him care about something again and really, you know, want to fight for something. Anyways, so the Empire shows up. They're trying to breach this door, and Obi-Wan has the idea to talk to Reva because just like the audience, he's figured out that the reason that she knows that Anakin is Vader is because she was there in the Jedi Temple during Order 66, which was great to get that confirmation and to have that actually play into the story. Many of us have been theorizing about it the whole time, so we really knew that that was the case, but seeing it actually come to fruition was great. Oh, also prior to this, sorry, I'm kind of all over the place, but in the scene where Tala was talking to Obi-Wan that I had previously mentioned, Bail has sent Obi-Wan a message on his comlink. He's just worried because it's been a while since he's heard from him, and that was a good setup for what comes later with the comlink. I'll talk more about that in a bit. So I really like this angle that Reva is doing all of this so that she can get closer to Vader to kill him, to get revenge for him killing her family, as she says it, her fellow Jedi younglings, which I think is great. It's something that I didn't really see coming, although I did hear at least like one person theorize about that on someone else's channel last week actually. So it was something that had come up in my mind because of that, but it's something I would have never thought of on my own, and I really liked how they did that. It really makes you uncertain as to what Reva's going to do, and I think made her a much more interesting character and a much more fun character to watch. Not that she wasn't before, but last episode, everything with Reva was, I don't know, it was just making me question if it was necessary. It seemed like a little bit drawn out, maybe. Like, the whole previous act of the story, I'm still not sure, and I don't think I'll be sure until I've seen all 6 episodes and I've had some time to rewatch them all and think about it. But episode 4, in some ways it does contribute to the story in terms of like Obi-Wan's character growth and stuff. But in other ways, it almost seems like a little bit of an inconsequential like bottle episode, which is not something that I think a 6-episode limited series should have. Also, the action in this show is not particularly great most of the time, specifically in reference to this siege, maybe you could call it, on Jabim. I don't like how much Deborah Chow uses shaky cam, or like these real close-ups of the characters like shooting, but you don't really see where they're shooting, and it feels like you're not really watching the fight, you're simply watching the characters be distressed in the fight, which works to a certain extent and is like fine, and I would say is more important than seeing action for the sake of action. But the actual action itself, for the most part, when you have the shootouts like you did this one, it's not that exciting to watch. But they did have some very meaningful scenes. I thought Tala and Ned's deaths were surprisingly sad considering how little they've actually been in this show when you think about like screen time. Especially Ned, who we finally got to see him fight. And you know what? That was cool. I did like that. And that they had a noble sacrifice. I'm glad that this show isn't like afraid of killing off characters. So Obi-Wan has this plan to surrender and try to get Reva to turn on Vader so that the people can escape, which I think is just perfect in terms of Obi-Wan's character, especially after reading Brotherhood, where they really emphasize that Anakin is much more like going guns a-blazing, and Obi-Wan is more thoughtful and strategic. He likes to negotiate. Ah, yes, the negotiator. And that's something that we saw in this episode, both in the current day Anakin and Obi-Wan and in the flashback with their little duel, which was so good. I think really like the best parts of this show is how it does characters. Some of the new characters a little bit less so, but the known ones like Obi-Wan, Vader, and Leia, like it really nails them. And yeah, I like what it's doing there. So everyone is able to get on a getaway ship. Vader goes to the hangar. As the ship is taking off, he pulls it down with the Force, which might be like one of the strongest uses of the Force we've actually seen in canon so far, at least like on screen that I know of. Which, I mean, makes sense since Anakin is one of the most powerful characters. It wasn't quite Force Unleashed levels. He's not pulling down a Star Destroyer. It's a much smaller ship. So anyways, I think it was fine. And it was awesome. Just because, I mean, it shows how strong he is in the Force. But also, it shows that Obi-Wan outsmarted him, which was the point with showing their flashback duel. And this, to have a decoy ship was part of Obi-Wan's plan, we see. And obviously, Reva never has any real hopes of actually killing Vader in this show because Vader can't die. And also, I think Vader's just too smart for her and too strong for her, which we see when she does try to kill him. He does notice it coming, and then he doesn't simply kill her. He toys with her and lets her know that she's nothing compared to him. He straight up embarrasses her in this fight that's, I mean, it's barely even a fight, because Vader doesn't even need to fight her that much. He's mostly just using the Force to stop her from getting to him, which in a few points did look a little bit silly, I thought, but I was fine with it overall. Yeah, then he stabs her, reveals the Grand Inquisitor is still alive, and then he just leaves her there to die, which is great. It's a very Vader thing to do. It reminds me a lot of the book Lords of the Sith and some things that Vader ends up doing in that book. Some great, menacing, threatening, scary Vader. He's just cruel, extremely powerful, and confident that he can beat you or whoever else stands in his way, except for Palpatine, I guess. Also, great use of the Inquisitor spinning lightsaber when Reva's backing up from him and simply spinning it as like a last line of defense of like, oh shit, there's nothing else I can do here. And this is the only option that might keep him from getting to me. Great, really great. Also, how Reva sees Anakin in the temple killing her when Vader stabs her. That was really good. I'm a little bit confused as to how she survived in the Jedi temple. I guess in the chaos of things going on, she laid down and just played dead and no one noticed. So anyways, the Path people, except for Tala and Ned B, because they're dead. The rest of the Path, oh, and Wade, can't forget Wade, favorite character. The rest of the Path people get away, but, and this is a really interesting turn of events that I don't know exactly what to think of it yet. I'm just gonna have to wait till the next episode. Haja was holding Obi-Wan's stuff. By the way, I like that Haja came back. He didn't do much, but I like that he's there because I just like Haja. Obi-Wan had given him his lightsaber, his comlink and stuff when he went to surrender, and Haja dropped the comlink. At first when I watched it, I was thinking like, that's kind of overly convenient that he dropped the comlink when he did and that Reva sees it later. But yeah, the more that I think about it, it does make sense that Haja would be kind of clumsy. I mean, he was pretending to be a Jedi and like a really shoddy Jedi at that. So Reva finds the broken comlink and she isn't able to play all of the message, but she gets like bits and pieces of Bail's message that he had sent to Obi-Wan, worrying about both of Vader's children, and he mentions Tatooine in it, which Oh man, Bail. Maybe Bail should not have made any contact with Obi-Wan at that point, but I understand why he would want to, but maybe he shouldn't have mentioned like crucial information like that. Anyways, as Reva is bleeding out and dying, she gets this, and then we see a little bit of Luke sleeping in his bed on Tatooine to end the episode on a cliffhanger. And I think part of what also made it feel a bit convenient to me how these events turned out at the very end here is that Reva was left to die on her own and Vader didn't finish the job. Like, you would think of all people, Vader would know that you shouldn't just leave someone and assume that they're dead like Obi-Wan did. Like, I get that he wants her to suffer as she dies alone. I get that, and that's great, but I don't know. And I don't know how Reva could get out of this being stabbed in the gut. I guess unless she contacts someone else with the information, I don't know how it'll work out. And also, she's not gonna give that information to Vader, surely. So Luke is... How is Luke gonna play into this exactly? Reva wouldn't want to go to Tatooine to kill Luke, right? Or I don't know what she's planning on doing now, but I'm very interested to see where it goes. I think Reva is a really interesting character, especially at this point, and I'm excited to see how her story ends, because I don't know, maybe she could make it out alive. Maybe she could go through the path and get a good ending. That would be kind of nice for her, actually. But I don't know if she's even going to survive where she's at right now, so we'll see. One more thing that I wanted to say is my biggest problem with the show overall has been just the like low budget feeling of it, which I don't understand why it feels so low budget when apparently it has the biggest budget of any of the live action series so far. Yet it looks worse than the Book of Boba Fett and both seasons of The Mandalorian. And I think maybe it's just that Jon Favreau, who worked on all those other series and not this one, maybe Jon Favreau just has so much experience working with like digital CGI filmmaking that he knows how to use it much better than Deborah Chow, who is probably, as far as I know, a lot less experienced with it, because budget isn't the only thing that matters. You can throw money at something, but the people working on it have to know how to utilize the tools they're given to craft their film or their series, you know? So, yeah, I'm hoping the final confrontation and stuff in the last episode at least looks very nice, hopefully. But yeah, that has just been my biggest issue with this series is I think since these characters are so integral to the main story of the films, this series should be given the same treatment as the movies. It should look just as nice as them. And we're talking about Star Wars here. This is a franchise that's known for having the best, most groundbreaking special effects that there are in the film industry. And the fact that this show looks the way it does at points is just like unacceptable in a way. I mean, I do accept it because overall I am enjoying the story for the most part, but it's like, how did we get here? Like, did Solo flopping really make Disney lose so much faith in Star Wars that they're not going to give it the proper production now? Is that it? Or is it that they're making too many Disney Plus series and it means that because they're making so many, they're giving each one a lower budget? I hope that's not the case, because then that's just gonna drain the life out of Star Wars by putting too much content out there and having lower quality content. Quality matters more than quantity. I would much rather get fewer shows that have higher production value that look right than like a bunch that, you know, look like they're half-assed or whatever. So it kind of makes me worry for the whole future of Disney Plus Star Wars, but I don't know. There's so many factors that could play into this, and there's a lot that I don't know about how these are being made, so I just kind of have to put my trust in the filmmakers working on these and wait and see and just hope for the best, you know? So yeah. This video probably ran on for too long. I'm very rambly right now since it's like 3 a.m. and I woke up from like a long nap and then watched the episode. So I'm just kind of weird right now. Okay, bye. Thank you guys for watching.